You would never do anything like decommission cars or hard park them for some amount of time or things like that.
When you start to do those, you're basically, and I keep coming back to it, but this is where basically time series statistical demand forecasting is so important, because if you start to get demand forecasting wrong on 10 and 20-year assets, by the time you've made the mistake, it's too late. And and especially if you a lot of times if you decommission or park an asset, there's no way to get it back quick enough. Because first of all, where's it going to go? It's going to sit. If you're lucky, it sits on a short line that you can pull it into your network quickly. If you're not, it's going to sit somewhere up in like eastern Washington that nobody is going to know where it is, and they're going to forget about it by the time demand even comes back.
Yeah.
But one thing that I understand is hard to predict is well, I'm probably flawed, but weather. And the further north you go, you may predict demand fairly well. You may line up your system to meet it, but then you get cold or avalanches. That's difficult to predict, no?
Yeah,
or do you
but
say
I think
it's so systematic and it's so predictable that you got so much history that, BS mark, you can predict that stuff.
Well, if you think about that, okay, like a power failure, what's the cost to put generators on your power switches? Exactly. There's 100% there's a cost. But if you basically figure out a way to power your switches, you can still move even when the weather is bad. And it's a lot of these little measures about how do you stay fluid four-wheel drives to make sure you get crews out there so you don't have crews dying. And but those again are costs, but the cost of when your velocity dies and the cost to get that velocity back is so much greater but a lot of times you're gonna save a nickel to spend $1. And so you really have to be aggressive any moment you have weather or there's a velocity slowdown to make sure you get it back so you don't incur those long-term costs, calls from the STB, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. But you can't, okay. So you're basically saying spend the money so your switches can work so you're not stopping your trains because of inclement weather.
Right, because look at anytime, just go back and look at any of your history and just kind of exclude weather. Just look at what happens to cost when velocity drops and how long it takes for that velocity to come back. And if you have the data on a regional level, and that's completely ignoring all the ill will that you get for customers on service slowdowns. Stuff like Chicago back in, 11, 12. Customers, if they're communicated to, can understand that because it's absolutely horrific. But just to have your velocity lost because you misforecasted your demand and where your crews are, and now you basically can't serve your existing customers, they don't understand that.
Got it. I don't know if you know this area. What about the impact of technology? So whether it's digitization or analytics, I think data and analytics to help the forecast could be one. But what about technology, instrumentation, IoT?